Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1. Wow. This movie did not only surpass 35 billion yen of profit, but they also did rise to the top of the box office records in 2025. Currently, they are still in the fifth position, beating some Hollywood movies like F1, Mission Impossible. I'm honestly very interested to see how far they would go this year. So, if you're not familiar with Demon Slayer at all, then I must say that it might be tricky to actually indulge in this movie because this is just the first part of the final arc of Demon Slayer. But even if you're not a fan, all right, even if you're not a fan, you can actually still enjoy Demon Slayer because most of the time, at least from what I saw in this movie, they kind of put everything straight to your face. So you're not going to be very lost, you're not going to be super confused. But obviously, if you don't know what the Infinity Castle is, or if you don't know any of the demons, it might be a little bit difficult, or you just don't get the feeling of being hyped up to see a certain character on the screen. But still, even if you don't know much about Demon Slayer, it's still a pretty simple movie. It's simple, beautiful, and very straightforward. So this movie started with this scene of the Hashiras falling into the Infinity Castle, which was basically the continuation of what we have left off in the Hashira training arc. This was the part where I was like almost jumping out of my seat because I did not expect the theme song from Aimer to actually play at that moment. Oh my god, guys, it was my favorite sequence of the whole movie. It was incredible. I felt like I was sucked into the Infinity Castle. Even without like 4D or 3D glasses, I could actually feel myself being dragged inside Muzan's castle. It was crazy. The song, the bass playing, and I was watching this on IMAX. So I am highly recommending you guys to watch this movie on IMAX because yes, I watch it more than once, and after comparing it between the normal to the IMAX theater, I can say that 1000% IMAX really elevates your experience. You will not regret it. I'm telling you, you will not regret a single penny. All right, spoiler alert, I will be talking about every single part of this movie. So, the first part, we had Shinobu versus Doma fight. It was a pretty short battle, but it went very, very sad. Because we all know why what happened with Shinobu, she died. The battle started off with Doma talking, yapping basically, and he was being this psychotic character that we all know from the previous seasons, and Shinobu wasn't having it at all. The best part about this battle was actually the soundtrack. It was really strong and it was very emotional. But for the battle, I did not really like how they kept cutting off between Shinobu's fight scenes to her thoughts or her memories of the past. The only flashback that felt like it mattered for me was obviously the flashback between her and her elder sister, Kanai. It was really sad and heartbreaking to know that Doma actually was the killer of her elder sister. That's why Shinobu had always been angry. And she was trying to avenge her sister, but she miserably failed. If there is one part that I did not really like from this movie, then it was the part where we were shown with Shinobu's own thoughts about having small body and small fingers. I think that was what she said, right? But I just felt like having scenes like this, short scenes like this, cutting off during the battle timing, it was kind of bad for me. It made me feel like, oh my god, when are you going to actually show us which Shinobu's fight? I wish that they actually showcase more of her powers because all this time, even if we got her fighting in season one, I feel like she actually deserved more screen time, at least in this movie, because damn, she was one of the biggest characters on the posters. I was actually hoping to see more. But obviously, at the end of her battle, it really did hit hard, and she got sucked into Doma's body. It was really scary. I never thought that that would actually happen. I never thought that was possible, but it was a really creepy and great conclusion to Shinobu's character. And then during the second part of the movie, we were shown with Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. Honestly, until this point, I still think that this battle was just some kind of a build up for Zenitsu's powers. It was most likely a filler battle. All this time, we were never really shown with who or why we should actually care about Kaigaku. He was shown obviously in some episodes of the previous seasons, but it was just like someone running past by. It did not really feel like it was very crucial. It did not feel like we should actually pay attention to who this dude was. No, not at all. That's why I was kind of a little bit trying to remember who this guy was, but then I remembered, oh, so it's this dude from the orphanage where Gyomei was attending to. But don't worry if you don't know a single thing about Kaigaku or even remember him, because obviously Demon Slayer will always show you everything that you needed to know. You will be shown with his past, how he became a demon, how his relationship was with Zenitsu and his grandfather. It was very, very straightforward. The battle between Kaigaku and Zenitsu was pretty short. I don't know if they really want to take this as like two thunders fighting, because obviously thunders are very loud and short, and it just happened in a flash. Maybe that's the kind of approach that they wanted, but as like what I said with Shinobu's fight, I wish there was more. But obviously, I cannot really complain because they are saving some screen time for the last, which was one of the biggest and longest fight scenes in Demon Slayer. Talking about the last part of the movie, I'm honestly still so nervous to talk about this because it was just so good, guys. It was so good. So, the final battle between Akaza, Gyu, and Tanjiro was obviously the longest. But the choreography, the cinematography, the voice acting, the animations, the soundtrack, wow, guys, I really don't know what to say except that it was sent from heaven. It was God tier animation. I don't know how Ufotable could actually maintain this kind of quality for such a long time. And it just gets way better and better every single season. And now we have the Infinity Castle movie, which was 1000% times way better than anything that we have seen before. I never actually thought to see this kind of animation, this kind of directing for the battles. It was so good. One of my favorite parts about this movie was the part where Gyu and Akaza were preparing for their battle. So they kind of rose up from these wooden pillars, and then suddenly there were like water fountain flowing down. Obviously, that did not really do much for the battle. It was just like some mere decoration. But damn, guys, damn. Wow, I never actually thought that UFO table would think that far ahead. What were the water fountains for? Obviously, nothing. It was just a decoration, but it was so good for my eyes. Maybe because Gyu was like the water Hashira, right? So, okay, let's put some water fountain. I think it will be great. Yes, it was great. It was good. They were cooking, they were burning the whole kitchen, guys. I don't know what to say anymore. It was great. So after losing for the first time with Akaza, we had Tanjiro versus Akaza. When Tanjiro started to struggle to fight Akaza, that's the part where Gyu came back to help him out. And during that part, Tanjiro was thinking so hard to actually defeat Akaza. Because obviously, Akaza is such an intense opponent. He always regenerates every time someone tries to cut him off. And he was thinking about how to actually slice his neck off easily. So again, we were shown with a backstory or a flashback about Tanjiro and his dad. This flashback was my least favorite. I'm so sorry, Tanjiro, but I feel like I'm just so bored seeing so many of this kind of flashbacks before. In the first season, we were shown about the Hinokami Kagura dance, and we were also shown with his dead brothers and sisters, his dead mother, basically everybody from the past. But it's like an overkill because I feel like I have seen this so many times and it just came up so suddenly. I just wonder why they never showed this kind of memory before in the previous seasons. I feel that could have been way better than actually showing it right now in this moment because it felt like they're really trying so hard to pull off some kind of a godly technique so that Tanjiro could actually defeat Akaza. Gyu had his awakening because he was so upset. This was probably one of the best awakenings in anime that I have ever seen. It was intense, and the way that music drops, damn, they made such a great soundtrack for Gyu and Akasa's battle. I have no complaints. Every single part of the battle that they had was so good in terms of directing, in terms of the camera angles. I don't know who actually thought about this, but the way that they just extended the battle, not just in one specific room, but all the way out of so many angles in the Infinity Castle falling down and then suddenly zooming in, zooming out. It was crazy. And I dare to say that this was the best, all right, the best anime battles I have ever seen in my entire life, hands down, UFO table. How Akaza elevated his skills again and again, and he did this final form of his technique. I don't know what it was called, but it's the same stance that he always used, like some kind of a judo master. And then, damn, the animation from that point onwards, it was explosive. Everything was glowing. Maybe I sound like I'm glazing over this, but it was really good. And then Tanjiro finally got to slice Akaza's head off. And damn, it did not work. So that's the part where things start to slow down. Akaza had this flashback, which was the longest flashback, but it was also the greatest flashback. I would argue that people actually see this flashback as some kind of a drag, but personally, I do think that the flashback wasn't the problem. If I were to rate the flashback alone without any context, without any other battles or anything, just Akada's flashback alone, I would say that's a 10 out of 10 directing. It was perfect. It was good. I liked it. I actually teared up. It was very emotional. But was it long? Yes, it was very long. Considering that you're trying to put everything in this one 2 hours and 35 minutes movie, I was actually holding my piss, guys. I'm pretty sure everybody was too, but I was holding myself until the end because I really did not want to miss a single frame from this movie. Akaza's resolution as a character was probably one of the best and saddest characters in all anime that I have watched. He off himself. I did not expect that at all. Like I thought I would actually see him being sliced off and that's it, like any other demons. But to my surprise, they did not end it in that kind of fashion. I would 1000% say and argue that this was actually one of the best anime flashbacks that I have ever seen. So that was Akaza versus Gyu and Tanjiro. At the end of the movie, we were shown with a glimpse of the other two upper moons, Kokushibo and Doma, since we are not technically done with Doma yet, right? And then, of course, we were shown with the other Hashiras who were hearing about Tanjiro and Gyu fighting off an upper rank and they actually won. And everybody was like, oh my god, Tanjiro, you actually won. We're going to do our best as well. Everybody was motivated, all right? And then one of the biggest part of the movie came up at the end. It was the godly animation of the Infinity Castle once again as a closing. I really love the way that they played so much with the Infinity Castle, especially with every strike of the Biwa, and they just suddenly go crazy with the animation. It was good, all right. The Infinity Castle suddenly surging up, increasing in numbers, and it just formed this cube structure. What the hell was that? Like, I'm just really lost. I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm not a manga reader, but it was fantastic, guys. Overall, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 is a good movie. I must say it really did surpass my expectations when it comes to the animation and soundtrack. Also, obviously, there were some parts that felt a little bit draggy. I know UFO Table was trying to give us the best of the best. I know they're not milking this for nothing. Obviously, they showed what they were capable of, especially the usage of CGI. In conclusion, I would give this movie a straight 8.5 out of 10. It was really good. I enjoyed watching this movie. I actually watched this movie for 4 times in a row, and I did not regret a single bit of it. So that's pretty much it for Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1. I guess I'll see you guys in 2027 when the second part aired. Probably. I don't know. It's not official, but let's just hope that they're taking their time and gonna be giving us another banger movie. I'm sure it's gonna be good. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.